The title of this podcast is Holding Space. This is a concept that I was unfamiliar with for many years. And if I did have some kind of understanding of what it meant, it was very surface level. It was more about tolerating people or ignoring them or things like that. But the more and more that I've dedicated myself to the practice, holding space has taken on a deeper meaning. And what it means for me now has to do with just accepting people for who they are and who they're not. And both of which are what my mind has to say about them. And so what I've learned to do is to give up my mind commenting about people, especially if it's not helpful in terms of uh, allowing me to maintain an open heart to people. If it doesn't contribute to that, then I've really worked on not listening to what my mind has to say about it, about the other person. And in doing so, what happens is I'm able to do something that's pretty special. I'm able to let go of any potential judgment of the other person, any blame of the other person. I'm able to let all those things go. And it creates a space for me to give grace, for me to allow acceptance exactly how they show up. And there are many opportunities to do that during the course of a day. There are so many things that are going to happen to you or for you that you can become angry about, disappointed at what somebody's doing or not doing, become worried or afraid of what people may or may not do. There's so many opportunities that occur in just a day that it provides an opportunity to practice of holding space when those things do occur. And they will, because that's part of the human condition. And I've come to accept that it's part of the human condition. And rather than waste those moments, I really worked on learning how to utilize those moments to go deeper, to expand my capacity to keep an open heart when people show up in a way that my mind says is a problem. And the first thing is to do is recognize that my mind is often wrong. And the few times that it is right, it was lucky, just coincidental. And then the second thing is that really staying mindful of what it is that I want, which is I want to be turned on all the time. I want to feel connection, experience connection with other people. And to do that, I can't make other people a problem. And I can't be a victim of what they may or may not do. That is something that I allow to happen or not to happen. And if I'm able to do this, I'm able to transcend what the mind has to say after being aware of its proclivity to do so, then I'm off to the races of really enjoying that person, the moment, and what it has to offer. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this goes beyond just people. It also has to do with situations that show up. Hold space and honor the the forces that came before that situation to cause it to be just the way it is, and allowing it to be there inside of you. So, for example, the weather is something that I have talked about as Keith 1.0. I complained about all the time up until about 10 years ago about how hot it is in Arizona during the summer. And I don't complain about it anymore. I almost barely notice it because I've created space inside myself to allow it to be that way. I mean, it needs no permission for me, Mother Nature, to show up as hot or cold. But what does need permission is inside for me being able to handle it, for me being able to not make it a problem so that I can get on my business of enjoying the present moment exactly as it shows up. And so I invite you to consider the whole space for the other people in your life, to allow them to show up exactly as they show up. If it bothers you, good. That's an area for you to work on to let go so you can stay turned on. Also, to hold space for yourself, and understanding that you're not perfect, that you are the observer watching the mind and the heart often struggle when it doesn't get what it wants. And you can create space for that too. It's the awareness is the key. By being aware of who you really are, the consciousness behind it all, behind the mind, behind the heart. If you can do that, then you have the capacity to create space and a lot of it for life and people to show up exactly as they show up. And in that is a lot of inner peace. So work on holding space.